Hello everybody, it's been a while. It's been actually a long while since we've talked about Beastars. And since it's, what got me started here on YouTube and got the channel up and running, I figure we could always come back to it. And one of the video ideas I wanted to do for a while would be comparing the two seasons, because I have some thoughts on both seasons, and yes, before there will, of course, be spoilers throughout the video. So, if you're not caught up with Beastars, then I suggest you go watch Beastars Seasons 1 and 2 before coming back over here. But without further ado, let's talk some Beastars. The two seasons are very much so different in terms of storytelling. Season 1 of Beastars mainly focused on the relationship with Legoshi and Haru, along with Legoshi trying to control his animal urges not to eat her. Well, I take that back. He does want to eat her, but in a different kind of way. Heyo! And sure, it sets up the murder of Tem perfectly within the first episode, but also, there's the tension between the herbivores and the carnivores, as the death of Tem has really, shook things up amongst them. But as opposed to playing things up, those kind of things with the murder of Tem and exploring that avenue, they sort of, pushed it to the side so they can build up the relationship between Haru and Legoshi, which, keep in mind, is not a bad thing at all. I mean, it's really great, but it has its drawbacks. I mean, for instance, I was such a huge fan of the dynamic between Haru and Legoshi that I sort of got turned off when they pushed them to the side in Season 2, and they weren't the relationship and the story was not as focused as it was in Season 1. I felt as though Season 1 didn't really have any sort of direction, and it was more like an introduction to this world and the relationship between Haru and Legoshi, as opposed to Season 2, where the objective is very simple and clear, and that's to find Tem's killer and bring them to justice. And yes, there were hurdles along the way, but I feel as though Season 2 was able to take the story of Beastars farther than Season 1 was able to. In Season 1, there was really a lack of a villain or antagonistic force. I mean, sure, there was Shishigumi, but they showed up towards, the latter half of the season. And the only thing that we got in the form of a villain throughout Season 1 was Louis, but he was more of a romantic rival to Legoshi as opposed to a full-on villain. As opposed with Season 2, where we had the great and amazing character of Riz. Riz, he's just amazing, and he shows what happens in this world when a carnivore gives into his instincts and finally eats flesh. And what makes him so great is that he plays the two-sided coin of a goody two-shoes bear, who's lovable and huggable, and then he can switch back to a killer bear on instinct whenever he needs to in order to protect his friendship with Tem. He adds this whole different dynamic to the show that adds tension, as you never really know what's going to happen next or when he's going to strike against Legoshi or Pina. And it's just built up really well because you can tell that he really wants to kill both of them right away, but he can't do that since that would attract way too much attention to him and the drama club, so he has to be smart about it and not rely so much on his strength, but also use his wit. There always was this tension that was built between herbivores and carnivores that was present in the very first episode and throughout the first season since Tem got killed. Herbivores couldn't really trust carnivores after, the murder that took place in their whole entire school. And we see that with Els automatically having no trust for Legoshi whatsoever and thinking that he is going to harm her within the first episode. Yes, that tension is still there, but I feel as though it's better built up in season 2, not only with the reveal of Tem's killer, but also with the incident with Tao and Kibi, where Tao accidentally rips Kibi's arm off. Everyone in the class naturally freaks out, and none of the herbivores want to go near Kibi, which, leads them to naturally be thinking that maybe he was the one that might have killed Tem. This incident also leads, to the school even thinking of segregating herbivores and carnivores because of the recent incident. So I feel as though the tension when it comes to the two species is really amped up in season 2 as, opposed to the first one. I mean, you really get that these animals are really uncomfortable around with each other, with one side being painted as nothing but ruthless killers, and the other feeling as though they are just waiting to see if they are the ones that are going to be next. Now is where we talk about the character relationships in these 2 seasons. Firstly, we have Legoshi throughout all of season 1, who's trying to fight his urges to eat Haru, and also trying to figure out his true feelings for her as well. The relationship between the two, like I said, it's very strong in season 1 as it takes up a majority of the episodes. But as stated earlier, it was really pushed to the side and almost a little bit non-existent in season 2. Also, I like the idea of Louis and Legoshi being romantic rivals in season 1 because it adds, so many different colors, like that of jealousy, sadness, and anger. The relationship between the two during season 1 is also a little bit different than in season 2. I mean, in season 2, Legoshi constantly refers to Louis as his emotional support and how much, he really means to him. But in season 1, I never really got that sort of feeling that they were really that close to each other at all. I mean, sure, they were friends, but I didn't really see them as being best buds like how Legoshi said they were in season 2. Louis and Haru's relationship is stronger in season 1 as well, but that's mainly because they really sort of don't have one in season 2, just because, they just don't. But just because they don't have like a strong relationship doesn't mean that they don't care for one another, as Haru is seen and she tries to call Louis in season 2, as well as having Legoshi try and check up on him to see if he's alright. With all this little stuff, I feel as though that the relationships in season 1 were just like a little bit more stronger than in season 2. I really don't get how how Louis and Legoshi, like, they thought they were, like, Legoshi's like, man, I really wish Louis were here. I can't do this without Louis. I want Louis to be there, but I never got that impression in season 1. I never really got that impression in season 1. But like I said, I just think that the relationships in season 1 were a tad bit better than in the second season. The characters in season 2 have better character development, in my opinion, as Legoshi goes from
rabbit
to finding the identity of Tem's killer, as well as controlling his own urges to eat meat. Plus, we see that he's doing his very best to keep the promise, that he made to Haru at the end of season 1. Louis' goals and ambitions have remained the same, with him being seen as a strong person of value, But he's been able to take that to new heights by joining Shishigumi and becoming their leader, and being thrust into this huge amount of power. He's almost like Griffith from Berserk in the sense that he is sticking to what he wants and isn't afraid to do anything to achieve his goal. Haru goes around, she goes from sleeping around with everyone and not knowing how she feels about Legoshi to finally ending her Ho days and admitting that she indeed has feelings for him. I feel as though that these changes and how the characters grow were more substantial in Season 2 as opposed to the first. Now, I'm not trashing Season 1 at all because I love it as it first introduced me to this amazing world, but I think that the character development, the story, atmosphere, and main villain all helped, in bringing Season 2 as, this amazing piece of work. And I mean, it's just one of those shows at the time where you sort of just had to stay tuned because you never really knew what was going to happen next. And, despite the fact that there was no jazz opening, I feel as though that Season 2 was better than Season 1. Well, that's been it for this episode of Excellent Anime Reviews. Do me a favor, let me know what you guys thought. Which season do you think is better? I've spoken to quite a few people that feel as though Season 1 is better, and amongst my friends, I'm the only one that thinks that Season 2 is better. So let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments section below. Make sure you guys hit that like, share, and subscribe button. I've been Samuel V, aka Excellent Anime Reviews, and I will see you all as soon as I can.